Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Warhammer 40k Rogue Trader. As today, we start off with a quick icebreaker. Curious to see what we'll find down here. No real clues or context thus far. And yeah, we'll go ahead and tag Argenta in on this one. I'm assuming we'll have at least one fight, so this will be a good test run for her sort of hodgepodge heavy weapon build. Oh, okay. We've actually got a name now. Shard of the Holy World. Real shades of, Santiel's Pride. That other frozen world we found under siege by Drukhari. Not seeing any Xenos corpses. By the nature of the injuries, it is clear that the head of this man was literally wrenched off, unscrewed from the body. Implies something large and strong. I'd say orcs if we knew they were in the game. Though now, of course, I'm assuming chaos.
The Emperor favors me today.
Actually, oh, yeah, that's chaos. A fragment of ship plating bearing unholy symbols. It seems the vessel was shot over the planet, as some of the debris reached the surface. Oh, yep, there we go. We've got Chaos Marines. The lasgun batteries are depleted. These people fought to the last breath. We'll circle wide, see if we can find a more advantageous engagement spot. They've clearly given us multiple avenues of approach. Oh, stationary guard. Possibly more beyond, hard to say. Patroller on left. Yeah, you know what? This is as good a place as any. Here we go.
Your arrogance will be your downfall.
Alright, let's get ourselves set. We've got a decently defensible position. Though honestly, glancing at our initiative tracker, we rolled pretty well. Aside from Argenta, everyone's up first. Oh, well, you know what? That does maybe complicate things ever so slightly. But not by much. You know, we already took one of these guys down. And I can't imagine this one's as tough as Doomscream was. Guy doesn't even have a proper name. And then aside from that, one other Chaos Marine. Plus a bunch of assorted mooks. Nothing all that concerning. Especially if these walls that we've actually positioned ourselves behind block line of sight. Since that will force them to basically have to come down through the stairwell funnel points. Though it is entirely possible the guys up top might just be able to shoot down. Though, you know, again, they look to be standard mooks. So I'm still not too worried about that. Let's do it to it. Abby up first. Engage, lock this guy down, essentially cork up the east stairwell. Actually, Val's up fourth, so once he comes up, we can kick Abby even further in. Get him all the way up onto the Hellbrute. Assuming, of course, we can finish this guy off. Cass. Alright, let's go ahead and tenderize Marine number 2. Suppressing fire. Nice, nice. Modest damage, but more importantly, lots of debuffs. And then lock them both, just in case. Slowed, but not immobilized. Also, zones, which I did forget. Usually Pass goes first, so we've already got him set by the time other folks start taking actions. And I guess just kind of jerk these guys around a bit. Damage is damage. And pass. Let's get the rest of those buffs and or debuffs going. And a quick shot. And Val. Let's go ahead and clear left. Oh, actually. Val, at least, has line of sight over the walls, but we need to nuke the Marines regardless, so one thing at a time. Marine 2 out. Can we ping the Hellbrute? No. Okay. So the walls block the Hellbrute, but not the guys up top.
I'll see to it personally.
And Abby, you're back on. We'll squish Marine 1 here, then get him tucked in front and center. Marine 1 out. Might as well trim the edges a bit before we pin the brute. Alright, let's get you in there. Auto taunt. No save thanks to his helmet. And Ulfar. We've still got Marine 3 coming in on left, but let's go ahead and lay down more suppressing fire.
See how the wolf succeeds. None can do this better.
Nice. And let's take this up top. We've still got a few attacks in the tank. Should be enough to clear most of the peanut gallery. Actually, full burst.
I have become the All-Father's worthy instrument!
Yeah, not great. Just wanted to see how it did. Got 3 lined up in a nice, neat row here.
Disgrace!
Lovely. And keep it going.
I will carve runes out of your bones!
Could still toss an aid, but I think we're good. I do note I forgot to restock his consumables. Kind of wish that happened automatically, assuming you have more in stock. Would make for a nice convenience feature. Alright, Genta. Let's see how that new heavy bolter holds up. Just gotta make sure we don't catch Abby in the backsplash. No.
As the Emperor
Yeah, I mean, about on par with Ulfar's Space Marine bolt pistol. Just with more bullets. Also, extra debuffs. We gave her all the
faith without deeds is worthless.
the heavy weapon talents that debuff on hit. And we do have a second burst in the tank. Was hoping to, but we don't have the AP for that. Okay, noticeable uptick on damage per shot. So debuff's already doing their work. Interesting. Not sure if they were supposed to shoot the Hellbrood or not. Or if that was accidental.
Death to non-believers!
Okay, that feels pretty deliberate. Maybe this guy's got like an Incredible Hulk thing going on.
Indeed.
Cast back up. Let's nuke number 3. Nice. Yeah, and about best we could hope for from that one. I swear that freebie shot used to be way more powerful. Likely a victim of one of the many rebalance patches.
I am a navigator, not a servitor.
But it's fine. I like getting an actual fight every once in a while. Even if they are still pretty tilted in our favor. Finish off 3. Should be able to do it with a kill zone. And kill shot. Oh, pass. You're killing me, bud. That's fine. Val's got it.
On it.
Number 3, out. Ulfar finishes off the ads. Looks like 3. Simple enough. One. Two. Slight overkill. And 3.
So it shall be. Die in disgrace.
Which just leaves you. Oh, wow. Goodness. Ooh, okay. So, counter attack. I will admit I did not see that coming, but it's fine. Argenta round 2. Thankfully, we still have a clear line of fire, so let's hose him down.
As the Emperor
Yeah, there we go. See, that is some slightly more respectable numbers. Just had to build some momentum.
for you, my Emperor!
Oh, close. He almost had him. But the honor goes to Abs. Man, this thing actually knocked off like a third of his health. That's a rarity.
Oh, Terra knows. Many of the household items and devices on board are simply not designed for your build and strength, my Lord Ulfar.
When spirits are high, the exuberance of my fist is enough to shatter fragile things.
Weird time for a conversation, guys, but sure. Yeah, that was fun. Nothing too fancy, but a nice solid fight.
If I may.
Honestly, possibly one of our final filler fights of the game at this point. Since beyond this sector, I think it really is just like Argenta's thing, Pascal's thing, and then confront Calcazar, go into Act 5, which, although I have avoided spoilers, I do know is very short. Like, I've heard 4 to 6 hours. Though I'll guess that's a very conservative estimate. I do love to read all the things.
Let us not dawdle.
Boots of Decay. Each time the wearer uses a major psychic power, all enemies in their line of sight lose 30% of their deflection until the start of the wearer's next turn. We just don't run with psychics enough. And Tearing Vengeance. High-end Power Axe. First attack against a bleeding target each round restores +1 AP. Oh, but wielder also suffers damage every round. Which I do think immediately rules it out for Ulfar, since I want to say Ulfar also has at least 2 talents that are keyed off of him staying near max health. The bodies of the defenders were clearly being prepared for some hideous ritual. The pulpit is almost intact. It was no doubt fiercely defended. Nearby lies the body of the preacher. It was from here that he recited his last prayer. The former warehouse of the planet's defenders. The crates marked provisions are empty, and the weapons are simple and of poor quality. Some minor stuff we might get some use out of.
Keep your wits about you.
The bodies of the defenders seem to have exploded from within. Interesting. Not sure why that would be the case, but could just be from the sheer brutality of the attacks. Explosive munitions, something along those lines. The bodies are dressed in rags and armed with faulty weapons. You notice many handmade aquilas and other symbols of faith. Yeah, I mean, really, honestly, nothing all that out of the ordinary here. Just another stereotypical...
I always keep my options open.
Just another stereotypical sad story of an undersupplied world out on the edge of space. I mean, I will say the frozen environment does, kind of make me think of the various other sectors with their stolen suns, but this one, I believe, does still have its sun. So the planet being an icy one is just simple coincidence. But yeah, I guess that's it. All right, let's head on back to the ship. Sadly, not enough time to do Argenta's thing, but we'll maybe round things out by catching up with Ulfar, getting his thoughts after all the recent events, and then possibly pump Argenta for info while we're at it. And then next time will be Argenta's thing, and then Pask's the time after that. Really getting down to it. Not a whole lot left to do.
Let us raise our cups at Vatar, in honor of deeds accomplished and in expectation of those yet to come.
Indeed. So, Ulfar, now that you know where the rest of the Baleful Howl are headed, what's your plan?
Help you to deal with the enemies who besieged your home, and then head for the coordinates that Thorvald gave me. Well, I know, Edvater, that you are dauntless, and if I but say the word, you will join me in my seeking. But the place I will voyage to is a perilous one. Few can survive in it, and though duty leads me there, I do not want my debt to be paid with your blood.
I mean, I appreciate the gesture, Ulfar, but I feel like we both know it's gonna happen anyway. So are you comfortable talking about yourself now?
It is wise to hide one's past from a stranger, but shameful to hide it from a friend. Ask away.
Glad to hear it, bud. Why don't we start with the basics? Where do Space Marines even come from? How'd you become one? I've heard a bunch of rumors, but I'd rather hear it from an actual authority.
I was a seafarer. Every spring we would go out onto the world sea and slay many armed krakens and ravenous sea drakes. And then the season of fire would come, and we would dock on Asaheim to battle for our clan's right to inhabit that land. I was young, but already fierce, and facing down foes twice my size. The chooser of the valiant, who had watched the fateful battle from the cliffs, deemed me worthy and took me to the Fang for healing. My clan was proud. I spent years in training before I passed through the dreaded gate of Mordkai, bowed on the runestones before both his heads, and walked into the Valley of Dreams. As for what I saw there, do not ask me. That is between me and the Death Wolf. The Rune Priest scoured my soul, but found it untouched by corruption. I returned, and I partook of the Cup of Wolfen. The Canis Helix entered my blood, and the agony of transformation changed my body to resemble that of a beast, and my mind was drowned in the dark depths of bloodlust. My return from the dark was long and cost me greatly. When I stood in the hall at the Fang once more, the rune priests imbued my body with the remaining gene seed and implanted the necessary organs. But those trials were nothing compared to what I had already endured.
The wolf speaks in a subdued tone, his face dark. And then what happened? More trials?
When I overcame the darkness of wolfen in my soul, I set out for the Fang. Every neophyte must undergo a hunt during this journey. One might fight a fearsome wolf, another a sly snow worm. I crossed paths with a doppelgrendel, a cunning and rancorous spirit.
Ulfar answers in a gravelly voice that sounds like cracking stone.
For 5 days and nights did we bring our wits and wrath to bear in battle. The spirit changed its guise, but in the end, I gouged out its eyes. Fleeing, it hissed a curse. Nowhere would I find an honorable death, vowed the creature. My saga came to an abrupt and inglorious end, like a noble banner moldering and fraying at the edge. When I made my return to the Fang, clutching that crushed eye, the rune priest looked at me, and his face grew grim. But he said not a word, save to confirm my victory.
Huh. And this curse, you think it's real?
Everything on Fenris has power. I have fought in 100 battles and suffered 100 injuries. Even wolves are not certain to survive such grievous maiming. But I always survived. And with each new victory, my thoughts took a darker turn. What if I truly am destined never to die with honor? What if my death will be foolish and inglorious? Each time I bury a brother, I secretly envy him.
Ulfar's mournful words land heavily, like cliff rots, cleaving off into the sea. His face darkens until it resembles a grim idol, hewn by a primitive people. Why spend so much time fretting about what happens after you die? Sounds to me like you've been gifted with a longer life. You should make the most of it.
A gift straight from the seven hells! What is the valor of a deathless warrior worth? Where is greatness in the exploits of one who shrinks from death? When the wolf time comes, and my fallen brothers march into the final battle, where will I be? Sitting alone in the Fang beside a fire that went out long ago? The ages weigh heavily on my hands and heart, and one day I will be too tired and feeble to wake up and rush into the fray. What will they call me then? Ulfar, who slept through the battle? Ulfar, Mordecai's unwanted.
At the last words, Ulfar makes a gesture to ward off evil. I mean, Ulfar, look, I'm just saying, if you don't make the most of your time now, people are going to remember you for being the guy who wasted all his time wishing for what could have been. So, about those trials, they sound pretty rough. Is that the case with all the Space Marines, or just the wolves in particular?
The path of our Astartes leads into the fangs of horror. Any threat that can be endured by the mind is one that mortals can handle. But we are needed where the unthinkable begins to happen. Things that understanding cannot help to bear. Things that, once beheld, turn minds into bubbling, pulsating dreck. An ordinary man who encounters this evil will go mad with despair. But we are incapable of feeling fear. It is simply not in our nature. Instead, we feel unbearable rage. We must select the neophytes who will look into the eyes of the unthinkable and roar. That is why we need our trials.
Yeah, fair enough. I suppose we've seen what happens when Space Marines go bad.
Many times I have heard the clicking of Mordecai's fangs next to my ear. But I have never allowed him close enough to sink them into my rump.
Ulfar wards off evil with a superstitious gesture. I mean, is that not also shrinking away from death? I feel like I'm getting some slight mixed messages from you here, bud, but why don't you tell me more about the Baleful Howl?
We call ourselves the Baleful Howl, and our sign is known to all wolves. We are old wolves who have seen much and endured much.
Ulfar proudly points at his shoulder pad, which is emblazoned with a crude depiction of black fangs. A shadow of disquiet dampens the warrior's boastful exuberance.
This is the great black mane wolf, patron of slayers and totem of our great company, the Black Manes. All know that we are fearsome and hungry for the struggle of war, that we are cunning, deadly, and show no mercy. Speak our name, and thunder rolls.
Ulfar declares in the tone of one instructing. He points at the other shoulder pad depicting a black beast head. Oh yeah, look at that. Nice attention to detail.
Even among the brothers, my pack are counted as the most rabid glory hunters. When we were young, we knew no taboos or limits to our pride. Years passed, and suddenly we are veterans. But our avaricious hunger for exploits is undimmed.
The giant space wolf's words seem to radiate heat, as if from a roaring fire on a winter's night. So after the trials, why don't you tell me a bit more about the better days before your brethren all bailed?
A complete accounting of all my deeds would land like an avalanche upon you. I earned this mark of endurance when I slew a chieftain of an Eldari tribe. He dealt me a serious injury, and the wolf priest said I would not survive it. But it has not killed me yet. 2 years I lay in a delirium after that battle.
Ulfar proudly points out a marking on his armor in the form of crossed bones.
When I awoke on Fenris, I set out for the wastes at once, and there I hunted a black-maned wolf and killed it with my bare hands. For that feat, I was granted the rank of Wolfguard. That fearsome beast remains with me to this day, and I carry his furious spirit.
Ulfar affectionately strokes the wolf fur laid across his shoulders.
And Jarl Ragnar carved this one when I beheaded a despicable sorcerer. the archdespot of Tyrannica II. Many brothers fell victim to him, and we do not sing that saga before mortals for the preservation of their minds. Alas, I failed to behold my own glorious deed. My eyes streamed with blood, and I hunted down the sorcerer by scent alone.
Ulfar points at what looks like a claw mark. The warrior's bragging demeanor fading away, his voice thick and dark like poison in a goblet.
And of my glorious victories, there are many more besides. Not for nothing did the Jarl grant me the accolade of Terminator.
He proudly displays the sigil on his chest, a stone seal in the shape of a wolf head on top of a cross. Well, I definitely see the wolf head. Less so the cross. But I'll take your word on that. Also, no mention of the incident where he lost control of himself. The one he mentioned in the bath. Maybe that was the guy on Tyrannica. Or just a throwaway story. So your poetry, it's really something.
Before becoming an Astartes, I dreamed of becoming a skald, a keeper of stories. At feasts, I often sing of my brother's exploits. Thousands are stored in my memory. When I am near, wolves fight even more ferociously, for they know their deeds will be immortalized. One of the tech priests theorized that our songs contained hidden psychometric codes to increase courage. Maybe there is such a thing in other places. But on Fenris, our sagas are spun from memory, from respect, from pride. More than word stringing, a secret weaving. Magic in its marrow. Not to ear or mind speaks the saga. Its spell sounds deeper strike, and the heart hearkens.
Uh-huh. So how about that new name? Ulfar Thunderlung. How's that working out for you?
That is my moniker, yes. My voice knows no fatigue, whether fighting or feasting. I can recite the glorious sagas and terrify foes with my battle cry for hours. Oh, this fine name was given to me by my loyal friends, Arnulf Bloodyaxe and Skjaldi Twice Thinker.
Oh, that was always your name. Given to you by your dead friends, so... Wow, that really does kind of recolor your interactions with Thorvald and the Stormbiters. Why don't you tell me more about your friends, Arnulf and Skadi? Wish I'd had a chance to meet them.
The bonds between us were many. Arnulf was my sworn brother. It was he whom I faced down in the battle where the chooser of the Valiant noticed me. Arnulf too was deemed worthy. We went from bitter foes to setting aside the enmity between our clans and becoming close friends. He gave me this blade to show that the past was forgotten. Quick to laugh was Arnulf, and fearsome in a fight. Almost as fearsome as me.
Ulfar shows you a blade covered in red runes.
Skjaldi Twice Thinker. Well, he was sent to us by the Allfather to see that we did not meet our deaths as young pups. He had enough thoughts in that head of his to make do for me and Arnulf both. It was Skjaldi who taught me to compose verses. The spirits prized his wisdom, and the runes hearkened to his voice. When the Xenos took me prisoner, Arnulf caught up with them and slew a score of them with his fine axe. And Skjaldi called down a storm so mighty that the abomination's jet bikes were whipped into the wind's furious currents like leaves. But even that was not enough to take them all. We were captured. Tervantius took Skjaldi first and turned his body into something unthinkable. Then he took Arnulf, and during the many hours of torture, my brother's only response to the freak was disdainful laughter. And then he fell silent.
I'm sorry to hear that. It sounds like they were fine warriors. Like I said, I'm sorry I never got to meet them.
And their sagas will be sung in the Hall of the Immortals, sowing valor in the hearts of the young.
Really sort of recontextualizes that commemorative axe that Thorvald gave to Ulfar. It listed the rest of his pack as well.
I enjoy telling stories.
You sure do, bud. Thanks for sharing.
What do you want to know? I enjoy telling stories. Fenris Hjulda, et fatter.
Interesting, interesting. And a quick follow-up with Argenta while we're here. See if she has anything new for us.
Greetings.
Even in stillness, Sister Argenta radiates energy. With her dark eyes shining and a slight blush to her cheeks, she is reciting a prayer, and looks at you only once she has spoken the final line. Argenta, we're about to head for Salus Prime. Anything else you wanted to share before we do?
Of course. Do you remember the first days of the attack? When we captured one of the heretic commanders? He burned so brightly you could have seen him from anywhere on the battlefield, I'm sure. But what is most important is what he told us before his execution. The heretic was one of Conrad Voigtfir's closest henchmen, and he revealed, screaming through the pain, what I had wanted to know for so long. The markers of the route to Salus Prime. The world my heart calls to. The heretics of the Final Dawn tried all they could to stop us, but they failed.
Yeah, that they did. Alright, set course for Salus Prime. Guess we're not done with the cult yet, after all. See you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Fury V23, Revenant, Alois, Bowman, Dragon Matrix 7, Drakiith, EgonAlter, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Lady Shayna, Giemza, OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. That said, if you'd also like to help support the channel, then feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or you could even check out the PayPal, the Patreon, the Nexus GG. or the YouTube memberships. Links are in the description.
A gift straight from the Seven Hells!